It's the Christmas holiday. Everybody else is off work. We're here podcasting.
There it is. How was your Christmas?
It was good.
It was not bad?
Yeah, it was good.
I saw you still got in the ice bath, though.
Oh, fuck yeah. Every day, man.
Every day.
It's getting, I think today I'm going to have to, like, get some serious hardware out there because the ice is like a foot thick on the sides, and I've just been like cutting a little narrower and narrower hole in the middle for myself to get into.
You're climbing into a little water igloo.
Yeah, and I'm like, I used to be able to stretch out, and now I'm like sitting cross-legged in the hole.
What's the temperature in that thing this morning?
30 degrees.
So it's 30 degrees. Because if it's water, if it's
at a certain point it doesn't get any colder, and the temperature is on the rubber ducky, right? The thermometer's on the rubber ducky, and he gets stuck in the ice, right?
So it's tough to know. So he's giving you an ice.
He always says 30 degrees. It doesn't. I don't think ice gets colder than that.
Than 30 degrees.
It's like once it's frozen, it's frozen. Does it get colder?
I'm not.
The air for sure gets colder, right?
Okay.
Like if I had his little butt sticking out in the air, it would say 15 degrees.
It would say 15 degrees. Wow. Yeah. Fuck. That's pretty goddamn discipline.
That's science, right there, boy.
I was going to say that's some serious science right there.
Science.
Yeah, that's why I'm in marketing.
I've been deep thinking on that lately. Like this fucking ducky always says it's 30 degrees, and I goddamn sure know it's colder than that.
That's interesting. Yeah, it's got to be colder than that because if it's 12 outside. And you're getting in some water, man. But you're sticking. That's some serious discipline. That's one of those things. I mean, like, I've dabbled in discipline things, but that right there is serious. Like that's some serious dedication to getting that stuff. I mean, I've done the cold shower thing. Like, I splash cold water on my face after I shave, and that's like the shitty thing, the sucky thing that I do every morning. To take the David Goggins thing, do one thing that sucks every day. I just splash cold water on my face after I shave, and I say, okay, that's my sucky thing.
It's all relative, It's all relative.
Some serious stuff. I'll bet you're ready to tackle the day though after that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you what. I have gotten immune to the cold. Like I'll be out shoveling my fucking driveway in shorts,
Nice. Nothing. That's nothing phase. I got to say that like when I first came here a couple of years ago, stepping outside in this stuff was just like, oh my God, like just even the thought of stepping outside. Now it's like, I don't even really need the winter jacket anymore. Like no, I don't need I used to wear the long johns. Don't really need the long johns anymore.
Right.
Yeah, that kind of thing. So you do adjust. But yeah, that ice bath. I'd like to say that, you inspire me to try it, but no way, buddy. That's one of them. That's one of them. Like right now, my whole body's just tense to even think about that. That's some shit right there. So, shall we re-talk about what we were just talking about?
Re-talk about what we were just talking about.
Cool. Maybe we'll say it better this time.
Yeah. So, the wholesale market in Michigan is fucked up right now, right? Specifically on bulk packaging,
sure.
Bulk products. So I feel like right now it's more important than ever to build brands. And our original business model was really a contract manufacturing business model, and we used up so much of our capacity building other people's brands that we weren't working on our own. So now for the last, let's call it 8 months or so, we have been focused on building our brand. So we've launched 1.5 brands at this point, right? We have factors like about to launch
just
every day,
ready.
I think.
Right, just on the precipice.
I think we're like gonna get canisters or whatever the fuck.
I think they show up
tomorrow, right?
Yeah, tomorrow, and then we'll
we got the boxes already.
We're developing the campaign. I mean, we're on the precipice of the launch. We've got a January date for launching it, but yeah, we're right there with that.
So you come from streetwear, and you've got a bunch of different experiences in marketing and branding in your previous industries that you were involved in. What parallels do you see between like streetwear and cannabis branding?
The most important factor of understanding branding is that it's storytelling. Factor. No, the most important element of branding is understanding that it's storytelling. And it's not just telling the story of the brand. Really effective brand stories are the stories of the customer or the stories of the consumer. We buy things or we use things or eat things or wear things because they resonate with us, because we feel like they represent us. Like we drive the thing that we want the world to see us as. We buy and wear the thing that we feel like speaks us, like this brand is me, I'm this. So weed is sort of the same thing, and that goes with, so weed in streetwear or weed in music, you're telling the story of the person consuming it, and the better you tell that story, the more effectively you tell that story, the more it's going to be consumed, the more the more effective the branding is.
That makes a lot of sense, right? Like I drive a big diesel truck because that resonates with me.
Yep.
I don't drive a Lamborghini because I'm not a douchebag, right?
I don't happen to believe everybody in a Lamborghini is a douchebag, but again, that's what I'm saying though. That story exactly, and a lot has to do with setting as well. If you were in a different, like if you lived in Beverly Hills, you might feel less douchey. You might feel more apt to drive a Lamborghini.
I think I'd still drive a diesel truck.
I hear you.
Be that dude.
I hear you. I mean, but again, like you feel like that truck when you're driving around and you're seen in that truck, that tells your story to the world,
Right.
Without you needing to hold up a sign. You know, that branding that Dodge did, you know, did the job for you.
Yeah.
You know, and that's what everything we do for the most part, you know, does that. A little bit of it has to do with preference. A little bit of it has to do with, you know, quality of product, obviously, and that kind of thing. But even those things, I mean, we buy quality products because we want to be associated with quality. We want to be, you know, we want to say, I'm a high-end person, so I purchase high-end things. And so with cannabis, it's the same kind of thing. It's storytelling. There are some differences in that with streetwear or with clothing in general. There's room to tell a story that's sort of invented, or you know, it's a bit more fictional. When I was in streetwear and I was bringing these catalogs of mine to the various trade shows, salespeople, experts in the field would start telling me, "Where's the story behind this T-shirt?" And I'd be like, "Story? Like it's a cartoon of the baby holding a syrup bottle. Like you want me to write a little story about him, give him a name? Like, oh, okay." And I thought that was the dumbest shit ever. Like I thought that was so fucking stupid. Like it was like I gotta write okay. So I went to my hotel room and literally just started writing blurbs about these characters on these shirts that I'd never even thought about. It just they looked cool, or maybe they were copying another brand or something like that. But I started giving these characters names, these characters stories. I started giving these images on shirts, these splashes of paint, stories. And when I did that, stores were more apt to take on that product because then they could convey that story to their customers. And I started seeing social media, people tweet about them, and like the story lives. It used to be just a picture of a stork, and now the stork brings the chemical baby, which is we were all chemical babies. And I created this tribe of chemical babies that we were all a part of, and that people were able to identify with. Now, I had never thought about Chemical Baby beyond that, because that was the name of the clothing company. So then I said to myself, well, we all kind of are chemical babies because we all get injected with vaccines and stuff when we're born, and we all are exposed to chemicals in every kind of way. And then I looked up the term chemical and discovered that chemicals are nothing more than just reactions of chemistry. So in a sense, we are all walking chemical baby. We're all walking chemical reactions. And so anyways, I gave it a story. I gave it some meaning, and we ended up getting in, I think it was 100 and so stores in the next year or two. We ended up on VH1, MTV. A number of people shouted us out. We're on some reality shows. And I firmly believe it was because we gave the brand that backstory, and it gave the user some understanding of why they would want that. And so with weed, there's a little less wiggle room because it's much more about the product. It's much more about the experience for the user than just what the image on the chest is, kind of thing. So you can't really tell a fictional story about weed. You want to tell the real story about that. You want to, but whereas one product line might be more luxurious than another, or one product line might be more blue collar than another, or much more of like an everyday user kind of thing. That's where you can get into differentiating what differentiates one product from the next. That is the story, the story of the brand. We've got two brands, as you said, coming out right now, and that's Caddy's been going strong for about 8 months, and then Factor's getting ready to launch. It's been in development for almost a year now. We've also got another one coming up with Madison, the marketing department developed, and that's Layla Rowe, which is a sort of a wellness-focused brand that's targeting the female user. And so each one of these speaks its own truth to its own sector of the market. And effective branding is effective storytelling. That's If you don't understand that, then you're going to lose.
Can you make a product that appeals to everyone?
That's probably the single biggest, you know, early mistake that, you know, entrepreneurs make when they're trying to develop a product, and that's saying, I want to make this product for everybody. Like really it's when you ask them, who's our target market here? Who are we going after? And they say, well, it's for everybody. I want everybody to be able to use
And why
this.
doesn't it work like that?
Well, the reason it doesn't work like that is because not everybody can beat Coca-Cola, you know, and even Coca-Cola doesn't appeal to everybody. Some people like Pepsi, but the idea that your product is going to embody all things for all people is A, kind of probably overly ambitious, and B, just short-sighted in that in this world we live in now, everything's niche. I mean, we all have our phones set to our own feed of information and media, and that's no different with weed. So to try to what ends up happening is if you aim for everybody, you hit nobody, right? Whereas if you have a specifically defined target market, a specifically defined buyer persona, you can aim for them and still hit the outside. You know, if they're the target of the bullseye, then you can aim for them. And if you hit the outer rings, you might hit some other sectors of the market. But you want to aim specifically. You want to understand your buyer persona. If you understand your buyer persona, you can much more effectively tell the story of the brand. And if you don't do that, you end up telling a story that's not really appealing to anybody. It's just not. It's unintentional. It's uninspired. It's not specific, and it shows. And it comes off vanilla, you know.
Sure. What are the different characteristics that you kind of point out when you're talking about a buyer persona?
Buyer persona has to do with sex, age, demographic, geographic location, buying habits, visiting habits, vacation habits. Where do they go with their children? Do they have children?
Cats or dogs?
Cats or dogs? Boxers or briefs? You know, do they married, single? You know, as much as you can garner from it, you go deep.
So you're trying to really get granular with
Absolutely. 100%. You want to go as deep as you can for the target. And the better you understand that, it permeates through the rest of the brand story when you're writing copy, when you're developing a website, when you're developing the color scheme, when you're putting the packaging together. When you know what kind of buyer you have, then it makes those other decisions easier to make.
And then I would imagine, right, because you think about targeted ads, like how the fuck are you supposed to do a targeted ad
100%.
to everybody?
Right. Well, that's the point. And it's, when we're talking about digital advertising, you have the ability to target now unlike ever before. And so that's another reason to understand your buyer persona, because there's so much that goes into just a good, effective Google ad campaign. And it's all about understanding the persona, the buyer, the brand identity and buyer persona. Absolutely.
One of the things that I've been really excited about from a brand standpoint is the Le Leroux brand.
Yeah.
And that was kind of Madison's brainchild. She got really excited about it, took the ball and ran with it, came up with the story, and she's really spearheaded the efforts there.
Yeah.
And one of the things that I've been reading lately is this blue ocean strategy, which is about competing in a saturated market.
Okay.
And, for me, obviously, Michigan is a very saturated market. Who knows how many people are making vape carts, distillate carts, for instance.
Jesus,
We're in that market. We're competing against 1,000 other products that are all very much similar. And so the blue ocean strategy, that would be considered a red ocean, right? The saturated marketplace for vape carts. The blue ocean strategy is coming up with a strategy that differentiates you from other companies, either via a differentiated product or a market or a strategy. You think about companies like NetJets, who came up with the fractional jet ownership, or Yellowtail Wine, that reimagined wine that would was no longer snobby and appealed to the masses. So I see, this female-centric brand as kind of a blue ocean strategy for us, because it's definitely an underserved segment of the market.
Absolutely. Well, that's an interesting. I've never heard of that school of thought, but it makes sense. Like the red ocean being I associate it with blood.
Blood. That's I
It's full of
think,
blood.
and you know, right
Yeah.
now in cannabis, the
Right.
streets are full of
Yeah,
blood.
the streets are full of blood. That's true. That's true, and that's an interesting point of view, that you want to have a blue ocean strategy in a world of red, and it absolutely is the case with Layla Rowe. Um, Female targeted cannabis is certainly it's a certainly underserved market right now. Um, and what you really need in that, though, I mean, with all of us that are involved in this company right now, is, it's a bunch of guys. And with Madison coming along, she presented this idea that was clearly a passion of hers. And a lot of times with a brand, or with any kind of business concept, the secret sauce is having a person that's really ready to take something on and push it through and see it through the ups and the downs. And that passion is oftentimes that secret ingredient that's needed to kind of push something through like that. And so I didn't notice it as a terribly differentiating product as much as I just saw it as something that Madison was incredibly passionate about and had a really clear vision early about. Which, now that it's taking shape, it doesn't surprise me. It doesn't. I was from the beginning supporting her, and I saw her vision. But I remember when she was first presenting it, there were some that were, kind of curious as to how it was going to take shape, how it was going to look. What's been really cool to see is her have this clear vision and watch it come to life, again, based entirely around her own passion and her own dedication to this idea. And then by nature, yeah, it's a differentiating product. It's a blue ocean strategy. It had not occurred. I mean, I knew it would be differentiating in that it was different than anything that we had. I worked in California for some women-owned cannabis companies, so I guess I wasn't as it wasn't as new of an idea to me, or some crazy outside the box idea to make a product for women. But in our company, with the brands we were building, it was a new idea, and it was certainly something that stood on its own. And I knew that the real key to the whole thing, that was going to unlock it, was her passion. She has a serious, clear vision, and it's now taking shape. And the product still isn't even ready yet. It's still maybe about a month away from release. She's headed up the packaging, she's headed up the branding, and not just ambitiously throwing stuff out like, I want one of these and I want one of these, but like understanding our supply chain, our manufacturing, our systems that are in place, and working within those systems in a realistic way that are able to bring this product to market in a way that's not only effective, not only impactful, but also fits within our systems and processes. It's going to make it a really easy thing to produce. Things that make sense cost-wise, things that make sense packaging-wise, things that make sense supply-wise, make it a really, really nice product line. And then, yeah, it's serving an underserved market currently, particularly in Michigan. Yeah. Absolutely.
I I agree with everything you said there. And one of the things that I really like is that it's kind of her passion project. I feel like she lives that brand, right? Like,
Right,
she really
right.
represents that. And so it's not just some concept that a bunch of dudes in an office have come up with to
Right,
target women.
right.
It is a brand developed by a woman who works in cannabis for female cannabis users.
Yeah.
And
She
so
is the buyer persona.
Yeah,
She is the
she
target.
lives that, right?
Yeah.
She is that buyer persona. So I love that. One of the other things that I really like about it is that it's been spearheaded by one person. And oftentimes when you're developing a brand or any sort of a large project, you get a lot of people involved, right? You might have 5, 6, 8 people in a meeting and too many opinions about something.
Yeah.
Decisions take a long time to make. Things get rehashed over and over again. When you have one person spearheading something, I mean, this is an idea she came up with not that long ago, right?
Right.
And she has put together so much imagery to bring us and packaging to bring us, and it's just looked good, and we said yes, right?
And she's understood where to ask and when. Like, she communicates with our head of manufacturing over there to figure out what the tins are going to weigh, what the packaging is going to look like, what can we produce, can you make the menthol one, can you make the eucalyptus one? It was going to be a 3-product line. Now it maybe starts off as a 3-flavor line, and now it's going to maybe be 2 starting off. She understood when and where, she reached out to me. We worked together on the packaging, on the design stuff. I mean, it's her branding, it's her concept, but just, I've got 20 years experience designing packaging. So, she would come to me and reach out to me for certain design concepts, spacing concepts. What do you think of this? Bounce it off me. We'd print it out, make a prototype. She said, and she wouldn't just go easy on herself. She'd sit with it for a week or two, come back to the table and redo it. And she'd put it next to other products of hers. I mean, she dove into it so deeply and then understood when and where to ask for input and feedback, and then took that feedback and used it. Didn't just hear things. But so it's a delicate balance when you're doing things in any kind of setting, but when you're doing something like that, to understand when and where to utilize feedback. And then, but there's a huge asset and a huge benefit to having her be the vision maker on that one. And it was easier for all of us to sort of take a back seat on those things because, again, this is something that resonates with her. And who are we to tell her, this really won't work with women? So It's like there's a huge benefit to that. At the same time, she was not an island unto herself. She certainly reached out when needed for areas that she was still gaining experience in, still gaining knowledge in, and just I'm sure she'd tell you from the time she started this to the time we're at now, in just a matter of months, she's gained a ton of knowledge, a ton of understanding, and that's been one of the more impressive things is that she checked her ego and really, reached out and utilized feedback from places where it was needed, and that's been really impressive. Again, didn't go easy on herself. A lot of people, when they're particularly starting out designing things, it's kind of hard to judge, be a harsh critic of your own stuff. You get really excited when you make something that looks decent, and you're like, yeah, but just because something looks decent doesn't mean it's the best, most effective design. And so the packaging itself has gone through, I wouldn't be surprised if it was a dozen iterations just in a matter of a month. And it's been really, cool to see where she took it, because I didn't tell her, you need to change this, you need to adjust this. She would figure it out on her own that this is where it would need to go. And all I would say was, let's get this thing to a point where we're happy with it, and we're happy with it going out. I'm not gonna yes man you, but at the same time, I'm gonna leave it to you to get this thing where it needs to go. And she's taken it on in aces, and it's been really impressive. Compare and contrast to something like Caddy or something like Factor, where, we've been developing Factor, I think, a little over a year now. And the packaging is very intricate. There's a lot of, there's different finishes and different products. And there was a lot of ideas about how to package these things, about how to present these things. And it went through many iterations, and a lot of different people had input. And at some points, it was sort of not really understood who was the captain of that ship. Then we went through some changes, with personnel. And in the recent months, it's gotten really shored up. We put together a team that we felt was, had the right components to offer input, but at the end of the day, the final decision making comes down to, one, maybe 2 people. And you really need at some point somebody to push the thing, and somebody to say, this is what it's going to be, everybody, and this is where we're going to go. Again, you want to take your consumer on a ride that tells their story. And that's the secret sauce right there. It's collaboration is not the enemy, but having too many chefs in the kitchen can be problematic. And so that's where you get into trouble with vision and, understanding the identity of the brand. Because a lot of people just go with what they want. That's the big thing about, I want my product to go for everybody. Really, a lot of people just do what they want, the things that they want. If I only made products based on stuff that I liked, I'd be making products for a very small sector of the market. I'm a certain type of cannabis consumer myself.
Snob.
I like really, really nice weed, man. I like really, really top shelf. I'm from California. I'm from the Bay, and been smoking the best marijuana on earth for quite some time. So it's kind of hard to come down off that. But again, if I only made products that embodied that, I'd be making products for a very small sector of the market.
Yeah, and that's something that we kind of talked to Marcus about last time is removing the ego from those decisions, right?
Big time.
Because ultimately you're not the consumer. So that was the conversation that we were having with Marcus about removing your ego from those decisions.
Yeah.
Because ultimately you're not the consumer, right? We are making products for other people. And
Yep.
so at the end of the day, our opinions don't really matter that much, right?
Not of a personal level of how you would, and that's where, I hate to keep repeating this, but that's where understanding your buyer persona, telling the story of your customer, not your story, not the company's story. You must make the brand story really the story of the customer. And so understanding the customer, we have this brand Caddy. Caddy is, a value brand, but that doesn't mean that it's low quality. It means you get a lot in a little package. We use a limited amount of packaging for sustainability, but also just
Maximize shelf space.
maximize shelf space. Having a big, a nice ounce bag, a nice half-ounce bag, that seems to do well in this market out here in Michigan. And again, that has to do with understanding your marketplace. In California, it may work better as packages eighths, but here it's they like ounces, they like half ounces, and it doesn't have to be the top indoors, to move out here. And that's where you got to understand your buyer persona. This is the person that likes to smoke every day, that likes an abundance of quality product, but it doesn't need to be, to the level of snobbery. It doesn't need to be the top shelf.
The hype.
It is true. It's you're sort of ruined once you get like that, because it's like, man, if I smell something and it's not just the tippy top, I turn my nose up at it. But oddly enough, though, Caddy has got some weed that I've smoked that's really, really good. But again, understanding who Caddy's for, providing a lot for a little. The whole twofer. We have a big portion of the product line is labeled as twofers, where you get 2 items for one, be it a vape cart or 2 grams or 2 joints in one package. And it all goes with offering value. You know what I mean? Large value, small packages, that kind of thing. And it's just understanding that buyer persona for that product, right? Whereas Factor is a craft product. There's a lot more time spent on the packaging, the finish. The packaging is more expensive. The packaging is more intricate. The product is more, finely tuned, more finely honed. It's higher quality. It embodies everything that a connoisseur would think about when they're purchasing that product. It looks really cool. It's got, black packaging with glossy patterns on it, and it's got bold red logos on it. And it tells the story of a person who's kind of that ilk. And then Caddy tells the story of a person who wants, a lot for a little, a lot of quality for a little. And
Sure.
that's, buyer persona. That's what it's understanding it. I hate to be the broken record there, but if you're not telling the story of your customer, then you're not branding, and you're going to lose. That's just what it is.
One of the things that I really liked was the story on the Factor packaging, which is something along the lines of, the legacy growers of Humboldt County,
Right.
meat farmers of Michigan. And to me, obviously, Humboldt is kind of the mecca. That's where a lot of this started. But Michigan also has a rich history in the caregiver market, right? I mean, there's still 30,000 registered caregivers in this state. Those are people who were growing for patients, the same as we were doing in California in Prop 215 days. And so this is a rich legacy market here, too. And so that product, to me, is for the legacy smoker. And the legacy smoker is the person who likes the really high-end products, right? That's somebody who's been smoking for 10, 15, 20 years. They have a high tolerance, because these are, highly medicated products, right? We're talking about concentrates. It's not something that, somebody who just started smoking 2 months ago is probably going to want to take.
Probably not. Yeah, well, it's much more for somebody that's sort of in the know. And you're right. There's a huge just cultivation culture out here, and so we're betting on them knowing that Humboldt County is the center of all that. And so it wasn't like we were saying we were bringing Humboldt County to Michigan. What we were bringing was the craft and the experience of Humboldt County cultivators to a passionate Michigan cannabis community, which is a very passionate community. They love weed here.
Absolutely.
This little state likes its bud, and it's really been cool. And it's got a deep farm culture that I didn't really know until we came here. And so Yeah, that's that little brand story. It was an interesting path to get to that point of that little blurb on the inside of the box, but it's definitely honed in to represent what we think that brand represents, and that's the craft of Humboldt County meeting the passion of Michigan cannabis to give you a product that's unlike anything else out here.
And that's a small box.
Mm-hmm.
How do you drill down or uh, condense an entire brand story
Right.
into like 10 words or whatever it
I
is
think
on
that
that
was the
box?
last element added to that box too. That box, that box, and along with all the other packaging in the line that's coming down, um, went through a lot of R&D, a lot of back and forth with me and our previous operations guy, and then at the last minute when we brought in Marcus, it was decided we needed a little brand story inside there. So I sat down, and when I write brand copy, I write some brand copy. So I usually write like about a paragraph or two, because I can't seem to ever be succinct.
You're not succinct.
Believe it or not, I am not a man of few words. So I wrote out some long form copy, mid to long form copy, and then I brought it to the team, Madison, and then we also brought over Krista Rayner from our retail department to sort of hone in, you know, the message. What should we say here on the inside of this packaging? Marcus happened to be in the office that day, as well as another California consultant, and it was boiled down to those two concepts: Humboldt County craft meets Michigan passion, and that's how we landed on that. It's a really nice blurb. Of course can't think of it off the top of my head right now, but
Right.
it's on a little box, and so that's why we needed it to be nice few words. Shout out to Madison and Krista for helping us hone that in that day, because it really did make all the difference. Yeah, that packaging is awesome, but that little blurb on the inside tells the story, and that's important.
One thing I noticed about our cannabis packaging is that it doesn't have our Instagram on it. What's up with that?
I don't think you're looking close enough, because it's got an Instagram logo on there. It's got our
Does it?
website on there. It's got a social media
I was
thing.
trying to go for the
Let's
fact that
say.
Instagrams get deleted
I
all
was
the
gonna
time.
say, oh goddamn, I was gonna say you're calling me out, bro. Like, I think you need to look a little closer. But so one of the things about social media, let's just go there. Cannabis and social media. Social media and cannabis faces a lot of challenges in this day and age, at least currently, right now, the way it stands. When you're talking social media, you're talking about two big dogs in the room, and that's Facebook and Instagram, both owned by the same company, Meta. They do not currently allow for cannabis advertising or any mention of any sales because it's federally illegal. They don't allow for any mentioning of any sales, and it's been a challenge for all cannabis brands in the space to maintain a social media presence, because it's so easy to get your account flagged, banned, your content pulled down. Berners talked about this numerous times, which is why he launched his own social media platform, Social Club, which I think is over 100,000 users now. And what you face when you're on these platforms is the challenge of talking about your products without saying that they're for sale, or talking about, you can't talk about promotions, you can't talk about sales of any, you can't imply sales of any, in any way, shape, or form, which is kind of which can be confusing, because you can see people get, murdered on Instagram. You could see people get, I see violence all the time on those
War.
platforms, war, and people being beat up, and just awful things. And so you'd think that they'd maybe focus on pulling some of that content rather than something about a plant. But unfortunately, that's just where it's at right now. And what's also, you unfortunately have started to see is your competition now will make it their business to go report your content. You have companies that are hiring people just to spend all day long on their phones reporting competition,
Haters.
aka big time haters. It's not anything we'd ever engage in, just because that's not how we get down. But it's pretty sad to see that there are whole positions now dedicated to just report, and it's because of the inflexibility of these platforms and how easy it is to just report something and get it taken down. So it makes it kind of challenging. I mean, I know that a lot of brands, you can just see that they've basically removed their resources from social media They don't post as much. They're not as active as much on those platforms, and it's really a shame. But it is what it is. At the same time, that being the reality, it makes smart marketers work within those parameters and utilize other forms of social media marketing, like tapping influencers and entertainers and partnering with different folks to have them talk about your products, because that seems to be less apt to get, or less likely to get banned, when you have somebody who's sort of a well-known figure happen to be smoking one of your joints or happen to be cracking open one of your bags. That doesn't get reported as much as like a dispensary saying, "Hey, we've got these for sale today. Come on down." Again, it's a shame, because these are legal, statewide legal dispensaries that a brick and mortar store, small business, employing people, and they can't talk to their customers and say when there's a sale going on. They can't talk to them about a new product coming out. They can't really do much on these things. And so there's some challenges with social media. At the same time, it has helped my department get more clever. It's helped us really dive deep into how to work within those parameters and still tell the brand story effectively without implying sales. And you have to do it without any advertising or any sponsored ads or anything like that, which can be a bit of a challenge.
So, what are some of the alternatives to social media that you're using to market these brands?
A ton of out-of-home advertising, billboards and traditional print media, tends to take the forefront a little bit on this stuff. Again, with state to state it varies, but in the two states we operate in, the influencer market, or excuse me, the influencer tactic, using a person who has a large reach, a large social media following, contracting them, partnering with them, utilizing their reach is a huge part of it. Also, just effective salespeople, effective sales teams. Shout out to Sarah over there in our sales department, making sure they're armed with all the material they need to really move forward, and just old school traditional tactics, swag and flyers and posters and in-store signage, and just because we're not spending our dollars, with Facebook and Instagram, we're able to utilize other more traditional forms of marketing, print media, hand-to-hand, word of mouth, these kind of things.
What about SEO?
SEO is important on a dispensary level for sure. If we're talking about branding dispensaries and people, ranking high for local SEO, then that's paramount. And then your branding is important. Excuse me, the brands are important to have presences on apps like Weed Maps or apps like the menu apps, making sure your brand descriptions and your product descriptions are all up to par, that dispensaries can then use on their websites. SEO is important very, very, very much for any local business. So dispensaries fall under that one for sure. We've seen a lot of movement in our strategy with involvement SEO.
So we just recently switched menus, right? Due to SEO, is that correct?
That was one of the factors. Yeah, that was one of the factors. Yeah, Dutchie are the menu we were using. The menu, you're talking about the third-party app that we use to display our menu on our website. We have a dispensary website that has 4 of our locations on there. And previously, Dutchie would be the service that we used to display our menu. The issue was, though, with SEO, is that with Dutchie, you embed, and I'm going to get a little web technical here, you embed an iframe on the website, which is essentially a website inside of a website. So Google does not crawl an iframe. So they don't rank any of those words, any of that copy that's on your menu. If you're using Dutchie, it doesn't come up in the rankings of it. It doesn't help your rankings at all. And with SEO, use of keywords and copy and all, relevancy, and if it's updated regularly, these are all things that increase your relevancy to Google. So if your menu is probably the most updated piece of your website and it's not getting crawled by Google, well, then you're missing out on a huge opportunity there for search engine optimization. And what we found with another service called Timber is they actually put their menu in our site in a way that's crawlable by Google. So all of that keyword rich content can be found on a Google search. For instance, if you're looking for a particular strain in a particular city, you can search that strain in that city and it will come up. Our website will come up as relevant for that. And that was something that wasn't the case before. So that was a big move. One big SEO part of our strategy. I mean, we've done a number of things involving SEO. I mean, it's a highly competitive market. So being on top of your optimization, your search engine optimization, your local search engine optimization as well is a big part of being successful as any brick and mortar business in this, landscape.
And what are some of the other things that retailers are doing to market?
Other things that retailers are doing to market themselves. Ingratiating so one thing that we've had a ton of success, is particularly in our Manistee location, is ingratiating ourselves in the local community. Throwing events, being a part of the Chamber of Commerce, showing the community that we are here to be a part of the community. We are here to contribute to the betterment of the community. We are not just here to sell you weed and take your money. Many of us live here. The company is founded here, and we embody that in all of our advertising. We have a big billboard that says that. It's in all of our, a lot of our newspaper ads, and we sponsor many events, and we sponsor local youth teams, and whatever we can do to show the community that we are a part of it. That goes hand in hand with even something like construction. Being a part of the community, if you're a local business, is a major factor in any successful marketing strategy, for sure, 100%. So ingratiate, I'd say that the top one would be a community involvement. And just making sure that they know that you are a part of what they are, that you're a part of the community.
One of the advantages I think that we have being in cannabis is that we have these really rich loyalty programs that people like a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And people have to check in, right?
Right.
We're taking in their information. And so they have the option to opt into our SMS program.
Mm-hmm.
We'll talk about the SMS program and the importance of that.
SMS marketing, SMS and email marketing is also another big factor in our marketing strategy. As you said, it involves the capturing of their information when they come in, because we're required by state to do that, required by law to do that. That's a way that we're able to hit the phone directly with, and communicate with our buyers that have already come in. It doesn't do a ton to bring in new customers, but it certainly does a ton to retain customers, does a ton to increase baskets, increase basket frequency, and track effectiveness of various promotions and things like that. We do a 2-week promotion at all of our stores, and we blast them out every other week. And then you're able to go back and look and see how those promotions did and which was the better, more effective SMS campaign. SMS in particular is one of those things where there's a bit of discussion as to what frequency is most ideal. Some of us feel that like once a week is about the max. Others feel no, we should be hitting them up every time we got something new going on. And so we're testing the market on a few different strategies as far as frequency is concerned. How often should we send a text to our customers? I know me personally, if I get hit more than once a week, I'm probably going to put stop. I'm probably going to hit stop and opt out of that. But those things yield numbers. Those things bring in customers. A lot of people come in and say, I got that text and that's why I'm here.
Yeah. So, I'm with you. I fucking hate getting text messages. Right. But also this goes back to the ego thing. I'm not the consumer, right? I'm a grumpy old motherfucker.
True story.
I don't want those fucking text messages from, the people I buy t-shirts from or anywhere else for that matter. So
that's true.
With the is it Alpine IQ that we use?
Alpine IQ is who we use.
Okay.
Yeah.
And we're able to go in there and look at the analytics and see how many people are opening them, and then see how many of those people have actually come into the store.
Right. It's by drilling down into the data, you're able to see what was effective, what wasn't, both from a perspective of the promotion itself as well as maybe the messaging sent out. I know we've been experimenting with a little bit more kind of edgy messaging.
I saw the message today.
Right. And so that's...
what did it say?
The message that went out today, I don't know, because I've got Madison handling that.
Madison.
Yeah, Madison is handling the SMS marketing now. So I don't know, but I know that she discussed with me
It was witty.
being more edgy because of the, I think it's like the Fashion Nova. Fashion Nova will send you some pretty risque terminology, ho, 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 stuff like that. Like, I remember when she first said it, I said, are you sure? Like that they do that? And then sure enough, I got one of the Fashion Nova texts that's like, yeah, it's edgy. It's edgy. So again, experimenting, tracking data, figuring out what yields results, huge part of retail marketing for sure. Yeah, big time.
Dope.
Absolutely.
Cool. Hey man, I appreciate your time today.
Okay,
Thank
man.
you.
Yes, sir.
Good to see you.
Not bad. New setup.
There you go.
Huh? What do you guys think of all the other face-to-face? Leave a comment and let us know if this is
Right.
doper than the other stuff, man.
If
Shout
you
out
like
to
us
Madison
looking
and
at each
marketing.
other.